Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Make It Big podcast. My name's Hayden. I'm your host. And in the last few years, if you don't know who I am, I've sold on Amazon for 6-7 years now. I run an agency as well. I have done all different types of online income sort of stuff, and I'm building this personal brand. And in the last few months, I decided to launch what was my passion, purpose, if you like, which I'm absolutely loving, and I get a lot of great guests on this show, and also I document my journey. So this is a solo episode where I'm documenting and talking about my journey. If you haven't yet, please make sure you subscribe, like the video, all of that good stuff, because it really helps us grow, and share it with anyone if you get any good value from it. So in this video, I want to talk about how I did 243,000 or something like that, or a little bit more, something like that, on Amazon in the last month. Now, this was just in our UK store. I do sell in the USA as well. I actually stopped selling in the USA in December. I do it every month, and then I resume selling, restocking in January, just so that we can full focus all of our financial resources into the UK market, because it's our biggest market in December. Now, I did about 243,000, which sounds crazy to me. And by the way, there's around about just over, I believe, I haven't worked out the books fully yet, there'd be just over a 25% net bottom line margin on that. Should be, once things are worked out correctly on my end. So we do some really good margins. Now, I don't used to think we do that every month, because we absolutely don't, and I'd be an absolute liar if I told you we did. We don't do anywhere near that every single month. But this time last year we did, I think it was about 143,000 in December. So we've really significantly increased that by like 100%. Yeah, sorry, not 100%, about 73%, about 100,000 revenue we added to that. But it didn't come without its hardships. It was really, really tough. And being quite honest, that Q4 that I just went through has made me never want to do one again. That's how much stress it caused me. But I want to talk in this video about my journey, how I got to that point. If you're looking to do something similar, how you can get to that point. I'm going to tell you the brutal realities of scaling up this type of business, especially if you're doing things like bundles, which is a lot of moving parts. And then I want to talk about sort of what I think about it in general now, where I think we're going and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I'm having a nice cup of tea right now. It says I run on coffee. I absolutely don't. I only drink coffee when I'm on holiday. So it's a bit of a lie, this mug. But I've got my green tea in there, so we're ready to go. So, as I say, tune in. Let's dive into it. So, as I say, last month, 243,000 total sales. I'm obviously ecstatic over that. You know, it's kind of life-changing money what we've made from that in terms of the profit that we make from that. Life-changing in the sense that I'll have a nice lump left over in the business. I'll be able to pay myself a nice bonus and everything like that, and it makes us a lot more comfortable. Now, January is a different beast, obviously. January, we're actually now out of stock of most of our stuff in the UK and the USA, so we're stocking back up. So it's going to be a bit of a dead month in January, but we'll get back to it in February. Now, I actually thought about not coming back. Some of you will be watching this going, you sold almost 250,000 in 1 month, and you're thinking about not carrying on, not coming back. Yeah, I did. I thought about cashing out, and I was actually very close. I made the decision to cash out. I think it was November or December, and not come back in January. And then I pulled myself back into it and said, no, you've got to do it. You've got to continue. You've got to keep pushing through, because you're not quite right now in the position where you can let this go, because obviously it generates us some really good profits. Some of you might be thinking, why the hell would I cash out if it's doing that well? Now, as I say, we don't do that well all the time. Q4 is significant for us because we're a gifting brand ourselves. So Q4 is really significant for us. We do some really good profit the rest of the months, by the way, a lot of the months, because we've got the UK and USA stuff. But a lot of the time we don't. And the main reason that I thought about cashing out was because this business, outside of December for us and November, this business is fairly low margin, like net margin, fairly low, right? Normal for most businesses, but still fairly low. It's a lot of moving parts. If you're compelling bundles up in 5, 6, 7 or 8 items per bundle, if I'm selling at 15 to 18,000 bundles in December, I had to source 120 to 140,000 individual items, you know, whether that's teas, whether that's chocolate bars, whatever it is, right? So you've got to think about that. logistically, in a prep center, you outsourcing is using a prep center and sending it to FBA. There's also a lot of issues there that people don't talk about. Obviously, you can use the best prep center in the world, but compiling 140,000 items, making sure you've ordered every single one of them items, making sure the expiry dates are okay in every single item, and then shipping that off to Amazon is a whole different thing, right? You've then got the cost of putting all that stuff together, which you've got to pay up front before you actually sell that stock towards the end of December, by the way. So your prep bill could be tens and tens of thousands. On top of that, you've then got the actual FBA issues with Amazon. Now, we all know how much of a nightmare Amazon can be in terms of their customer service. You can get a lot of issues. There's a lot of risk that goes with putting, cost of goods wise, 70, 80, 90,000 pounds worth of cost of goods items we had in Amazon in December, right? In order to generate almost $250,000 in sales, we had to hold a lot of stock there. Now, one of my hampers, for example, one of my bundles, for example, that actually had major issues from Amazon just because one of the items didn't match the description or something like that. We made it clear it was a variation, but for some reason they weren't happy with it. It had one different flavor of some item, and they said it's got to be all matching, right? And look, fine, okay, fair enough. Can we update the listing? No. Can we change it? No. So all of a sudden, they did this investigation, and about 300 of that one bundle, which has cost us a few quid per bundle. So, including prep, probably looking £1,500 in total, which could be a loss there, because it's very unlikely if you've got expiry dated products and you've got a lot of stock and you're stocking up for 1 month to go out, if you have to pull all that stuff out, right, and then send it back in, you've not only got the cost of pulling that stuff out, the removal order fee, you've then got to prep the fee again. You've got another fee for the prep center to send it back in, and then you've got to hope and pray that you can put that down to a price which you won't make much profit on just to get the sales going, to then be able to sell that after Christmas. So it's a lot of risk there, and luckily only one of our bundles actually got impacted, so I was very grateful for that. But it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot worse. Sitting on that amount of stress, people don't talk about that enough, So I sort of realised that in order to scale this to the next level, in order to do $250,000 every month, if we wanted to do that, we'd have to have our own warehouse, 100%, and actually do seller fulfilled prime. You need to be in charge of that stock, because if Amazon's got it, there's a high risk that they're going to obviously at some point have some sort of an issue with your stock, right? So something to take in mind there. So in general, that was one of the reasons I felt like quitting. A lot of moving parts. Margins aren't massive outside of Christmas. Seasonal business. But one of the main reasons also was just the fact that, being brutally honest here, sometimes I think there's better opportunities out there. Now, I'm not displaying the importance of what Amazon's had on my life. It's been phenomenal. It's changed my life completely, like 6 figures of profit last year, 6 figures of profit we should do this year, no doubt, after the month we just had. And it's given me the resources in terms of finances to go after different stuff, to run this podcast and everything, to start another stuff in other spaces, and to have actually the internal confidence to believe that business is possible. But as I say, the more mature you get in business, the wiser you get in business, the more confidence you have in yourself, you start to realize that having all of your eggs, or a lot of your eggs, in the Amazon basket, maybe that's not such a good thing. Maybe that's not the best use of my time. And a lot of people, this isn't me slagging anyone off, but a lot of people that sell on Amazon, some people just like to be a recluse. They don't like to go out and see people. They like to just stay in and work behind a laptop all day. And by the way, sometimes I like doing that. But I actually like talking on camera. I like to go to business meetings. I like to travel. I like to, I like to build stuff. So I feel like I have got the skills the knowledge, the experience, the know-how to actually go ahead and, I wouldn't say create any business that I want, because that would be arrogant, but create some types of business or services that can demand higher margin and can demand higher profit with, quite frankly, sometimes a lot less work. You know, there's a lot of good things that come with Amazon FBA and selling on Amazon, but there's also a lot of reasons why it's not a great business, i.e. the control that Amazon has, i.e. the smaller margins, the never-ending crazy competition, you know, the low-hanging fruit of what this business generally is, the millions of sellers that do it. I think it's an amazing opportunity, but there's some people that it is more suited to, that can spend the days, the months, the weeks managing and sorting out the correct systems and procedures to be able to run it at a big scale. I just wonder if it's worth it, you know, because there's other business opportunities, let's say agencies, let's say service businesses in certain niches, that you can sell 50,000 a month in sales, and because your margin and profit is so much higher, and actually the work can be a lot less, you can make the same profit as someone doing 200,000 in e-commerce, you know, with a lot less moving parts. So that's just my reality and the way that I see it, right? As I say, I'm not putting down anyone that does it at a big scale. I think it's, you know, a phenomenal thing, and hats off to people that do it. But you just got to be, you got to know that it's for you. So that was what I was thinking, to cut a long story short, which I didn't do just then, did I? To cut a long story short, yeah, just it's a hell of a lot of work when it's in someone else's control as well. And you've got to think about, is it the best vehicle to build wealth, to build profit? You know, and as I say, it can be for some people. So that's kind of like that first section there. That's why I thought about going. Anyway, I'm not going anywhere at the moment. I'm sticking it out right now. I'm building up my USA store again, only with my own products. Stopped arbitrage over there because it's just price tanking like crazy now. We had a good few years. It was great. Now we're going back into it. In terms of the UK, we're smashing that again. We're going to be launching a load of new products this year, and we'll definitely see the year through. That's my sort of general conclusion here, is that just decide what you want to do. If it's in the Amazon selling world, decide what you want to do and kind of master that. But there will be a stage that if you're not willing to have your own warehouse and take more control back, and then build up on your own websites or sell on other platforms as well to de-risk yourself, to hire teams, to hire your own internal teams to really scale up and take on that pressure of PAYE employees and things like that. If you're not willing to do that because you don't think that's worth it, because you think there's better opportunities, then if you want to scale something big, I don't know. Decide if it's for you, right? If not, keep it at 50 grand a month. Keep it at 100 grand a month, which is a great number, by the way. Phenomenal number. I've always wanted to scale stuff big. That's always been like my end goal. And yeah, I think personally, unless you're willing to treat it like a serious business and you think that it's worth it, as I say, which I don't think it is, to scale this into a multi-million pound business, personally, don't think it's worth it at this stage where I'm at. I think there's better opportunities where you can have a lot less turnover and make more profit. Then yeah, you've got to be willing to really go in at it. And I mean really go in. But as I say, if you want to do it, then it's good. An opportunity I think is better is if you can just get something like bundles or private label to 50k a month, 100k a month, and outsource it and use a prep center. By the way, you can scale to multi-millions using a prep center. I'm not saying you can't. I know people that do that. But the risk that comes with that, I know people that have lost 100 grand, 150 grand's worth of stock because they've got it all sitting in FBA, and then all of a sudden there's issues with brands or something like that, or like I just said, where there's a slight discrepancy in the listing and it's been pulled by Amazon, and you can lose £100,000 worth of stock if you're doing millions and it's all in FBA. So you really need to bring back that control. And that's the issue, I believe, with scaling it up without your own teams, without your own warehouses and things like that. So it's all about that level of risk, but it becomes a risky game, I believe, if you haven't got your own warehouse, if you haven't got your own external platforms you're selling on. So that's just my take on it. As I say, I think a good number to be is 50k a month doing bundles, doing private label, or 100k a month. Awesome. Like, you're going to be generating hopefully 10, 15k net profit on that, right? And that's nice. That's nice. I would make you just think, do you want to scale it more than that? Yeah, because it can be an issue. It can be very stressful. It's not even just normal business stress, Like, I've been in business almost 10 years now, something like that. It has been 10 years actually. It started when I was 19 with my gardening business, scaled that to 3 vans and stuff. I'm no novice to stress in business, but when there's stress that's out of your control, where an other organisation like Amazon is in charge of it, in charge of your fate, and you can't do anything about it, that's when it's tough, So that's all I'm touching on here. As I say, if you had the higher margins, it would be more worth it, and you could start employing absolute killers in your business to go and smash it. But yeah, it's working with that small margin, which has the cash flow issues as well. That's when it can be tricky. And by the way, I didn't mean this to be like a doom and gloom on Amazon. I feel like there's a massive gap where people aren't telling you the reality, and I couldn't find it when I was starting out. And I just feel like it's very important to go over this stuff. As I say, we still made loads of amazing money last month as well. It's still an amazing opportunity. I just don't think it's one that should be scaled, personally. I think there's better options. I honestly believe with the cash flow issues you get and everything from Amazon and the small margins, I believe an agency that is doing 5 to 10 million in total sales per year is making a lot more money than an Amazon seller doing 150, 200 million a year in total bottom line net profit. And the amount, this is what people don't talk about, the amount that seller is actually able to, as a company director, pay themselves. Because if you do 200 million a year on Amazon, now I know we're talking massive figures here, but let's just go off this. The amount you have to reinvest into staff, back into stock, back into, to sell, you have to spend, So reinvesting all that back in, you can come into cash flow issues if you pay yourself a lot. Even if the books say that you made, let's just say, 2 million net off that, right? You're hardly going to be able to see that. It's hardly going to touch the surface because you're constantly reinvesting all that back into stock. So it's messy. That's what I mean. With an agency, for example, or a service business, if you're at 10 million a year, you could honestly net 4. You could net 4, or let's say 3. I mean, talking about if we had loads of staff to pay and everything like that and premises. And guess what? You haven't got to reinvest into stock. So once you've paid the payroll, the company director can actually pay themselves that money in a lot more of an efficient way, in a lot more of a visible way. So, and there's a lot less moving parts. There's a lot less risk, and there's a lot less risk in someone else's playground, i.e. Amazon. So, look, that's the sort of reality. Like, I'm very grateful that we did the 243,000. It was amazing, and we're carry on pushing. But it's just not an opportunity that I want to scale up anymore. I feel like I had to do it. I mean, 6-7 years? I started in December 2019. It's been good, but yeah, it's not. It took me that time to realise it's not an opportunity I want to really scale up. And most people that talk about Amazon on here usually have courses to sell or mentorships to sell or anything like that. I've never personally wanted to do that. Nothing wrong with the people that do it in the right way, you know, like in the right way and actually credible, and they sell a lot themselves, and you know they do it at a fair price, and it's not a crazy stupid upsell. But that's where they get their additional margin, by the way, to pay themselves a nice lump, because they're getting income from their coaching, their mentorship, their courses, which is supplementing the downfalls of a lot of the Amazon stuff. So yeah, I think I'll leave it there. That was a raw. Don't think we could get any more raw than that, could we? That was a raw reality of doing 243,000 with a lot of moving parts in this type of business in the way that I did it, which was the bundles. Now, just to sort of caveat that, I think the moving parts of the bundles is a major issue where, not that it's bad at all. Once again, very grateful for it. You can make a lot of money. But if you want to scale that up, I just wouldn't. Generally, I wouldn't. I'd focus on the higher margin, lower sales. Because if you were to do $250,000 with private label on 7 or 8 SKUs, if you can get it to that stage, you're going to have to spend a hell of a lot in PPC and stuff like that to get it there. But if you could get it there, and if you could master that, which is a skill in itself to have that ability to do the marketing and the product research, blah, 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 to get it there, then there's going to be a lot less moving parts on that. But you've still got the risk element of having all that stock in Amazon, or all of your eggs in the basket. And if Amazon's got an issue with your listing or something, they could pull it, whether that's for months or years or permanently, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, anyway, in summary, Amazon is a phenomenal opportunity, 100% for beginners, 100% as a stepping stone business. And if you want to take it seriously, it is also an amazing opportunity, you know. But just be aware that if you're going to scale it up, you need to be bloody serious about it. But even if you're not going to scale it up, but still want to do some pretty big numbers, you've just got to be willing to put in the work. You've got to be willing to go through all the hurdles and have your eggs in Amazon's playground and things like that. And you've got to be okay with that risk. You've got to be okay with that risk. But look, no business is easy. It's all good. I just think, yeah, it's got to be right for you. I'll see you in the next video. Make sure you subscribe. See you soon.